So you went out and tapped the 6 of us on our shoulders and said, hey, I've got this big idea. I've got this vision of being the largest full spectrum provider of digital sales transformation services. I want to create a movement. And you said, I want you to be part of that movement. And the 6 of us said, Mario, we think you're onto something. So here we are.
Hey y'all, welcome to Selling with Social, the podcast that helps marketers increase marketing qualified leads, sales reps to shatter sales results, and sales leaders to grow as leaders. Each show, we interview sales, marketing, and social media practitioners, leaders, and influencers to help you connect, close more deals, build stronger relationships with clients, and improve your sales productivity. I'm Mario Martinez Jr. You're now listening to Selling with Social. Bernie the Man Borges, I am so excited to have you here on Selling with Social, my friend. Thank you for joining me today on this episode of Selling with Social.
Mario, what took us so long?
I've been trying to get you on the show for I don't know how long. And there's actually a real special reason why you're here today, I think. And I'm excited to have you share that, right?
Absolutely. So am I. Let's do it.
Yeah, fantastic. So first off, we've got you as a podcast host of Social Business Engines, an author, the most amazing social CMO type of VP of marketing type of guy that's out there that understands marketing and sales. And I think actually in your former life, you were in sales, if not mistaken, right?
That's right. We'll get that into this podcast as well.
All right. We'll talk about your history. And you were the CEO of Find and Convert. And now you are taking on a new role with something else. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I've been demoted. So after 15 years of being CEO of Find and Convert, my own digital marketing agency, and in more recent years, more content marketing focused, I am thrilled to be joining you and 5 others altogether, right, on the new Vengreso team. And my role is Chief Marketing Officer. So yes, I'm demoting myself from CEO to CMO, but I am way okay with that because it's an exciting new thing that we're doing here at Vengreso.
Well, I would hardly call it a demotion. I would definitely call it a much larger role with a lot more strategy that we're expecting from you. I'm excited to have you on board with Vengreso. Congratulations. Welcome. As you know, we just made the announcement. Do us a favor before we go into that. I want you to talk a little bit about yourself and your background so that our listeners, we've got sales, we've got marketers, we've got enablement, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, you name it, they're listening in. Just tell us a little bit about you.
My corporate career before I started my own agency was, in round numbers, Mario, 10 years B2B sales, mostly software sales, and then 10 years in marketing. And the way that I got into marketing is actually a fun little story. And I want to tell that story. And I promise I'll be really brief about it.
However long you need, buddy. However long you need.
All right. But it's very relevant to everything that we're doing. So I was in California, in your area, in the Bay Area, and I was a sales manager for a software company down in Silicon Valley. And, I got together with some of my sales counterparts, and we had some conversation around some of the frustrations we were having with marketing. What was coming out of marketing just wasn't, hitting the mark for us in terms of messaging and collateral and just helping us in the field as salespeople. So we arranged a meeting with the marketing team, starting with the VP and the product managers, and it was a very constructive meeting. It wasn't confrontational. The end result of that was they came to the realization that they needed input from the sales team on a regular basis, not just this one-off meeting. So no later than about a week later, I was called into my boss's office. It was the VP of sales. And he said, we're creating a new position, and this position is going to be the director of field marketing. And it will have a dotted line to me, the VP of sales, and a dotted line to the VP of marketing. We'd like you to fill that role. So I accepted that role, and that was really sort of my transition from a full-time, I was 10 years into my software sales career, and that was my first marketing role. And it was there in Mountain View, California, Silicon Valley, and all the fun things that go on with, software marketing. And I enjoyed it. And here's my point, Mario. The reason that story is so relevant is that from day one of being in a marketing role, I went into it with the lens of sales, with the lens of creating marketing that is going to make salespeople be more productive, more effective. So that mindset of mine of having that alignment between marketing and sales was from minute one of my marketing career. And that was a long time ago, by the way. I don't even want to talk about how long ago that was.
I was about to ask you, how long ago was that, Bernie?
Let's just say it was before the year 2000, and I'll leave it as broad as that. But again, that really began my marketing career. After that, I kind of moved on a few years later. I eventually ran marketing for a software company. And even in that role, Mario, the day that I accepted the VP of marketing role for a software company, the first thing I did was I reached out to the VP of sales and I scheduled a meeting with him. And I made a point of being a face-to-face meeting. We were not in the same city, so we made arrangements to sit down face-to-face. And I just had a long talk with him, and I told him that story and my background, and he appreciated it. And from that very first meeting, we were able to establish a relationship that was based on that marketing and sales alignment. So from that first meeting and everything that we did together going forward was together. There was nothing that I did as VP of marketing in that software company that was siloed, that was just me and my ideas. It was always about collaboration with sales and driving value for the sales team, helping the sales team be productive in their selling efforts.
Yeah, I love that story. That there aren't a whole lot of folks that are out there that were actually successful in sales and that migrated into marketing as a result of a company saying, hey, we need your sales expertise to come help us market and drive marketing qualified leads. And vice versa, there aren't a whole lot of marketers that are out there that have been successful in marketing that now go into sales and actually are able to be successful and drive sales opportunities. And so that's one of the things I love about your background is you truly understand this concept of aligning both sales and marketing, which today is a major broken problem within the industry, like huge. We're talking about sales and marketing. There's sales and then there's marketing.
Yeah.
And oftentimes the two are not even talking to each other. And or if they are, they feel like they're totally aligned. But what happens is salespeople behind closed doors in that conference room on the weekly meetings, they're like, marketing sucks. And then marketing turns around behind closed doors in the marketing meetings. They're like, these salespeople suck. They won't follow up with our leads, right? So that's what you're constantly having. So I love that story, and it really demonstrates your expertise, which is one of the reasons why I tapped you on the shoulder to say, let's do something bigger and better for the industry. So talk a little bit about this bigger and better. You said you're now the CMO of Vengreso. Who the heck is Vengreso?
Well, before I get to that, first of all, I want to thank you for tapping me on the shoulder. I'm honored and I'm thrilled to be here. And we have an exciting opportunity in front of us. And I really think what's exciting about it, Mario, is what we are going to deliver to the industry. So who is Vengreso? What are we? Well, first of all, we are the largest full spectrum digital sales service provider. What that means is collectively, the 7 founders have trained more than 85,000 professionals from small business to large enterprise across the whole spectrum of digital selling. Collectively, we've worked with more than 2,000 companies spanning from small business to large enterprise. And essentially what we're doing by the 7 of us coming together is we are aligning marketing and sales, as we just discussed, for maximum effectiveness of everything that marketing and sales needs to do together. We are equipping business professionals with the mindset that they need to engage online consistently and without having to force it because they have the mindset. We're also providing the skill set that's needed to be effective to engage online through training and coaching. And then we're providing the tool set that allows business professionals to navigate the whole digital sales ecosystem very effectively and in a way that really scales. And that last little phrase that I just used is by doing all of these things, by providing alignment, mindset, skill set, and tool set. We're really creating this digital sales ecosystem that allows any selling organization, no matter how small or how large, to have all the ingredients that they need to really accelerate growth and sales and revenue.
I think I'm going to have you start doing more of my press conferences. that was a phenomenal description. I love it. It really makes a lot of sense. There's some big holes that each of us as individuals, before collectively coming together under one company, saw in the marketplace. And I want you to take our listeners through some of these challenges that we saw. Now, you come from the actual content marketing side of the world, from the viewpoint of content marketing and strategy and distribution, whereas I come from the sales training side of the world.
Right.
And these two worlds coming together and being married under one organization, like how important is that for an organization that is trying to leverage digital to drive more qualified leads?
Well, you said earlier, Mario, that so often because of the silo between marketing and sales, that marketing is frustrated because sales isn't following up on their leads, or they're not sharing the content that they provide. And sales is frustrated because marketing is throwing leads over the wall, and they kind of feel like it's a quota, like sales is getting all these leads from marketing, but sales feels like they're not qualified. So it's all about sitting down together and understanding the buyer's journey, understanding what phases the buyer goes through, what are the different pain points and issues that the buyer experiences throughout that whole journey, and then creating a content plan, a content strategy that sales is a part of, so they sign off on it, and then executing on that content strategy in such a way that every piece of content that gets published and delivered plays a role. It has a place in the buyer's journey. And then through the training and the tool set, it's made easily available, easily accessible to the sales team so that they can easily share it, and they know how to share it, and they also know how to engage. And that's, again, where the proper training and coaching comes into play, so that they know what to do. And through that mindset that, I always come back to that mindset, Mario, because even in my own agency, I did some training myself. And mindset was the biggest hurdle to overcome. You pointed this out many, many times. Many people go in, they deliver training, and then the day after training, they go back to doing what they were doing before. And leadership doesn't even know how to reinforce it. So that's why creating an environment where the mindset is really what prevails, so that people have not just the skills, not just the tools, but they've developed this mindset of knowing how to engage so that it's natural to them. And so we've got to start by having marketing and sales working together, being aligned, so that you can deliver on that mindset and the skill set and the tools, and so that it sticks and it's not just an event, that comes and goes and then no behavior changes.
Yeah. I want to come back to this concept of behavioral changes. But there's something I actually forgot, Bernie. I forgot to ask you, who else is a part of this Vengreso organization that you're talking about?
Oh, just a few people that we know in the industry. We've got Kurt Shaver, who is a co-founder and chief sales officer. And Kurt has a very extensive background in digital and social selling training. We've got Colleen McKenna. She's also co-founder and chief administrative officer, and likewise has a very strong background in social selling training. And she also has a very unique element to her expertise, which is the ability to source sales talent by using social recruiting services and social recruiting practices, which is a really key ingredient to the Vengresso model. We also have Bryn Tillman. She's co-founder and chief learning officer. Bryn is very well known and popular as a trainer. And Phil Gerbishak, also co-founder and chief digital officer. Likewise, Phil, he's a podcaster and also a sales coach. And then there is Vivica Von Rosen. Vivica is also co-founder and chief visibility officer. She's been around a long time, about as long as LinkedIn, doing LinkedIn training, coaching, speaking, and an author. And that rounds out. And of course, yourself, Mario, you are a practitioner where you had a very successful launch of a social selling program at a large technology brand. And then you were on your own for about a year, and you were very successful in that 1 year in delivering digital and social selling training and coaching, but you also were smart enough to realize that most of the people who were delivering these services were not delivering the full spec, really the full mindset that organizations need to deliver. So you went out and tapped the six of us on our shoulders and said, hey, I've got this big idea. I've got this vision of being the largest full spectrum provider of digital sales transformation services. I want to create a movement. And you said, I want you to be part of that movement. And the six of us said, Mario, we think you're onto something. So here we are.
I'm glad that everybody bought off. It was a fun ride. Talk to us about this is an interesting story because those that are listening have entrepreneurs, right? And they always think about doing something big. And here we just announced something big. I mean, this is the largest thing to hit the digital sales transformation training service space in, well, I don't know, next to the name LinkedIn, right? This is monumental in the industry. So talk to us a little bit about the internal mindset that all of you co-founders went through when I first reached out and said, I want to have a conversation. So walk us through, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they think that I want to do something really big and they've got really great ideas, but there's a lot of fear, trepidation. They're scared. Like, how do you go from here to there? And overnight we go from individual brands that are very well-known influencers in our own categories to this collective gargantuan monumental brand that brings us all together. And I want you to just talk about this mindset that each of you went through as we started down the path of how do we bring this together in one company?
I think the biggest one, and I'm going to share an experience that I think is representative. So it's not, I don't mean to single out this experience as just a one-off. I think it represents the challenge that we all faced. I was talking to a company that had somewhere in the neighborhood of 500 sales professionals, and we were talking about a content strategy and a social selling program. And we got to the point in the conversation, and we had several conversations, so I was kind of feeling good about the momentum, but we reached a point in the conversation, Mario, where the chief decision maker, not that that was his title, but that was his role. He said, so Bernie, how are you going to train 500 salespeople? And honestly, I didn't have a great answer for him. I mean, I had an answer, but it wasn't a great answer. So it's really the ability for us as an organization to deliver the services that we can deliver both to individuals through a series of online offerings that can be credit card purchased online, but also through our collective resources, the seven of us plus the team that's behind us. We can now go into an organization that has hundreds or thousands of sales professionals and say to them, do you have the content strategy that you need to feed to your sales team? And does your sales team have the mindset and the skill set that they need and the tools that they need to be effective? And we have the ability to deliver on that transformation to any of those organizations and do it in a way that's effective and at scale.
And if you think about it, I do want to come back to your personal mindset as well as you've gone through this journey. But if you think about this, though, there's a lot of organizations, mostly individuals that are out there that are teaching quote unquote social selling training, right? And they go out there, they teach, they do workshops, they have a learning management system or a platform, and they're in and they're out. Maybe they have a little bit of extra coaching. Maybe they have some reinforcement. Maybe they see some bump inside of sales opportunities. But nothing really changes in terms of wide scale behavioral changes across the organization. Is there anybody out there right now that is really bringing together this piece that you call the content strategy and distribution to the personal branding and how to actually turn your digital asset as a sales rep into a profile that attracts your buyers, then going through and teaching on the social selling training with the reinforced coaching, and then the distribution of that content, and finally actually helping an organization find the people that we just taught this whole spectrum of things to do, right? To have the type of people that have that same mindset. Is there anybody else out there that is doing that? And if not, was that what was most attractive to you about the Vengreso story?
No and yes. Next question. No, I'm kidding. So no, to my knowledge, no one else is doing that, because I can tell you, firsthand, when with my former agency, Find and Convert, again, having been in business 15 years, more than once, we were approached by people who did social selling training and said, "Hey, help us develop the content strategy." So there was some partnering going on. Then there was also scenarios where it was kind of reversed, where we were doing content marketing for an organization, and they said, "Hey, can you help us train our salespeople?" So it was, either or, but the two didn't exist within one service organization. And yes, to the second part of your question, that's a big part of what excited me, from the very first conversation that we had about Vengreso, because I recognized that was a missing piece in the industry. So, I think one of the many things that we share in common among the seven of us is that we are entrepreneurs. And we're ambitious, and we want to grow, and we want to deliver, great services that have great growth potential. So when those missing pieces came together under Vengreso, under one brand, then that's a powerful story that you and I and the other five of us are fully confident is going to be well received because of the value proposition and the track records that we all bring to the story.
No, absolutely fantastic. And so here we launched in the June 2017, Vengreso, and we'll make sure we put that into the show notes, vengresso.com. Tell us, there's two root words of how this was created, or maybe you want me to tell the story of how this was created, the two words, or do you got it?
I can do it, but I think you want to do it. Go ahead, Mario. Go for it.
Like, oh, please save me, Bernie. Please save me. Well, we actually spent a lot of time talking about what is our focus and what do we care about? Was it really to teach people how to do social selling? No. Was it really teaching people how to actually personally brand themselves? No, not really. Was it really helping an organization help deliver a content strategy? No, not necessarily. You said it earlier, Bernie. Our focus was to figure out a way to help drive more sales revenue into an organization.
Right.
And that really is the conversation that marketing is trying to have with sales, and that sales is having with sales, and they're expecting marketing to do the same thing. So if I'm not mistaken, Kurt Shaber created a word, I think it's a word, an oodle doodle word. I'm going to use oodle doodle because I love oodle doodle. He said, let's create an oodle doodle word. And we came up with, there's two words in the Spanish language. Sales is ventas, V-E-N-T-A-S. And revenue, the word translated revenue could be used ingreso, I-N-G-R-E-S-O. So ventas and ingreso together makes Vengreso. And our focus, our real focus to the organization, to every organization that works with us, is to drive sales revenue. That is what we care about. That is what they care about. Sure, absolutely, it's about the skill set, the mindset, the tool set. But at the end of the day, what you care about is, did it create results? And leveraging digital truly can create sales revenue and growth in the organization. Did I get that right?
Absolutely. And I can tell you, just coming at it from my former agency, Find and Convert, again, content marketing focused from a service delivery standpoint, but because of the story that I shared with you and your listener about that career transition that I did some number of years ago that will go unnamed, where I transitioned from sales to marketing, I've always had that lens of delivering marketing value for sales, the sales team. So everything that we've always done around content marketing delivery was so that they can help the salespeople be more effective. So yes, it should absolutely always be about driving sales and revenue growth, whether we're talking about someone who's going through a coaching program with Vengreso or they're working on a content marketing strategy. It doesn't matter like which individual service offering they might engage Vengreso with. It's all focused on driving sales and revenue.
I love it. So we identified several problems that we see happening in the world today of selling. And we won't get into talking about the modern buyer, what's happening with the buyer and how they're engaging with us differently. Like, I think everybody's well established that prospecting and engaging with our buyers is happening under different mediums and different places at different times. And we need to be all things to all people, or not, and then suffer. So we identified several problems. One of them we talked about was the alignment between sales and marketing, or the lack thereof, and helping marketing understand the secret handshake or the language of sales, And then helping sales to understand that we actually have to be, today's modern salesperson, in my opinion, has to be somewhat of a modern marketer as well. And they have to understand that. So it's really taking these two worlds and helping them on both sides. And what other business problems might we be solving for sales and marketing today, Bernie, other than the alignment of sales and marketing?
Well, it's creating a great customer experience, because the sales professional can no longer do it on his own or her own. They need to be working as a team. Now, in that scenario, I am referring to a company scenario as opposed to like an individual, right? But think about it. They've got to be working within the context of who's helping them from the marketing standpoint, and also who's servicing that customer. So an organization is going to benefit by really embracing Vengresso's digital sales ecosystem approach to doing things by simply creating an environment, creating an infrastructure, creating a mindset within their organization that's focused on delivering a great customer experience. So for example, again, I come at it from the content marketing strategy in terms of my most recent experience. Content is not one size fits all, right? So we've got to be creating content that addresses the different phases of the buyer's journey. So by doing that, you're allowing salespeople to create a better experience for the prospect. You're also enabling salespeople to insert themselves in the buyer's journey, because as you said a moment ago, we know what the buyer's doing. They're very digitally engaged. Part of that means that they don't even want to talk to a salesperson early in their evaluation. They're doing their research online. Well, if we can actually enable the salesperson to insert themselves into the buyer's research process by giving them the content that the buyer is actually in search of during that research process, then we're actually helping that salesperson not just create a sales conversation, which is a good thing, but also create a good experience for that buyer. And then that experience should carry through the whole sales process and then, of course, post-sale. And if, in fact, that company really embraces digital transformation. Now, in that case, I omitted the word sales and I came up to 50,000 feet and said digital transformation. If they embrace that, and they embrace that company-wide, and the sales team should be part of it as opposed to omitted. They shouldn't just think of it as a marketing initiative or an IT initiative, even worse, right?
Right.
It should be organization-wide, company-wide, where everybody in the company is trained and provided the guidance and the opportunity and the tools and the mindset to engage with the marketplace. And then back to the sales team, they obviously have to have the training and the skill set and the mindset, because they're front line and they're charged with generating revenue. So it really is an organization-wide initiative. It's not just helping the sales team make their number. It's helping the company compete more effectively in their marketplace.
Yeah. And to that end, you think about the two things you said is a better customer experience throughout the entire buyer's journey and competing more effectively. And that really goes into well in line with our strategy around personal branding. There's a lot of companies and individuals who are out there that are teaching this digital sales training component. And they are teaching the mechanism, if you would, construct your LinkedIn profile this way and have a headline that speaks this way and make sure your summary says who you help and how you help and what business problems you solve. But let's face it, Bernie, I sat in sales for 20 years. If you tell me to go change this, that, and the other, I'm going to say, yeah, no.
Don't have time.
Yeah, I don't have time. So while people tell you how to do these things, in order to solve that problem that you mentioned, which is a better customer experience of what problem we solve, who we help, and how we help, we are actually taking organizations, salespeople, and transforming their personal digital profiles from the quota-crushing sales rep to who you help, how you help, and what business problems you solve. And that's part of, quite frankly, the buyer's journey. A salesperson engages as a result of a lead, maybe an outreach of some sort. If there's any level of remote interest whatsoever, what do you think that buyer is going to do to that person? What is the first thing they're going to do when they're interested in that, what that person has to say?
Go to LinkedIn profile.
They're going to look them up on LinkedIn, or they're going to Google search. And so that's where a lot of organizations fail at, is being able to take that branding piece, which they focus so heavily on for the corporate side, and figure out how to push it downfield, which ultimately helps you connect to your customer better. And let me tell you this. As you know, we finished a project that was about 1,000 sales reps in the enterprise side. And we definitely do the small individual, small business, entrepreneur, but we scaled up to 1,000 people. Their competitors don't got nothing on them in terms of keyword search, right? So this is another area that marketers can really think about. How can I make us more competitive and map a brand to the buyer's persona and journey using my salespeople? And that's a big one for the personal branding in terms of a problem we solve. And our approach and philosophy to digital sales training. Now, if people are listening, they may be noticing, Bernie, that we keep saying digital sales training as opposed to social selling. Everybody knows it as social selling. Is it the same thing? Is it different? Is it slightly different? Is it a lot of it different? Tell us the difference.
So I use this metaphor, and it's the new muscle metaphor. You know, if you've, let's say you do a project on the weekend and you use certain muscles that you just haven't used in a while, and you wake up on Monday morning and you realize that you're kind of sore in that part of the body, and you think back and go, okay, I realize why. You know, I did that project over the weekend. It's that new muscle soreness, right? And then you think to yourself, well, if I was actually exercising that muscle, that particular muscle on a regular basis, it wouldn't be sore. I wouldn't even notice it. So I use that metaphor in the context of when we deliver digital sales training, we're not just teaching people how to use LinkedIn or how to tweet. We're teaching them the value of engaging with people online, the value of having a personal brand that is written in a way that speaks to your buyer, and it's not written in a way that's, like you said, you know, bragging about, you know, how they've made their quota for 20 years in a row. So it's really imparting on them the importance of understanding that engagement, understanding how to serve, understanding how to give value, understanding how to use the content that's supplied by marketing, use the tools that are made available to you, and always be learning and growing, you know, with your skills, and always be focused on delivering value. So it's more than just learning how to use a social network. It's more than just having a good LinkedIn profile. It's understanding how to use digital tools and scaling them so that an organization builds what we call the digital sales ecosystem.
That works, right? The digital sales ecosystem that works. Just for our listeners, I think a couple of examples might be, everybody knows social selling, which traditionally refers to social networks. A branch outside of that, we're talking about social video, not just video that you would send through a social network. We're talking about the use of video in email, in one-to-one messaging. We're talking about things like leveraging texting, for goodness sakes, which is another medium. We're talking about things like leveraging multiple sets of tools, like employee advocacy tools that will help an individual spread their wings across digital to really find and target their particular buyers, all under one umbrella. So I love that. There is also, we're going to have our co-founder and CAO, Colleen McKenna, in 2 weeks on the podcast. And she's going to be talking about our service offering as relates to the small business and the mid-market and entrepreneurs. But do me a favor, just touch on this talent recruitment piece that we bring to the table. That I think that makes something very unique in terms of the Vengreso offering.
It is very unique, Mario, and it's basically the notion that once an organization has made some investment of time and energy and financial investment to train people and reinforce them and provide the tools that they need to be effective in digital sales and digital engagement, then they realize they need more people like that. They need to recruit more people. They may even need to replace some people who just aren't able to make the transition, and that can be a reality in some scenarios. So the whole area of talent recruiting, which is what Colleen McKenna is going to talk about on that episode, is the notion of, okay, well, now you've got this digital sales ecosystem in your organization. You need more. So what Vengreso can now help you do through talent recruiting using social recruiting practices is to go find other people who are like-minded and maybe they've been through similar training, similar scenarios, and they have, at a minimum, they have the fundamentals in place. And then they've got a lot of great potential and they can be recruited into the organization. So that is the piece, another piece that is really, really unique to Vengreso.
Bernie, have you ever seen the movie The Lion King, the cartoon?
It's funny that you ask. Yes.
Do you remember that part where the hyenas were with Scar and they were in the, wherever that cavern was, and they said, "Ooh, Mufasa," and then one of the hyenas says, "Ooh, that scares me. Say it again. He goes, "Mufasa."
I do.
When you just said the word Vengreso, I was like, "Whoa, say it again. You sent chills up my back. Vengreso. Well, listen, this has been a great conversation. So there's a lot ahead, a lot of work, and a lot ahead for Vengreso and what you're about to do and where the co-founders are about to take this company. What should everyone expect over the next, I don't know, pick something, 30, 60, 90 days? What should they expect to see coming out from Vengreso? What are we asking people to do?
I would even venture to ask people to look at us over the next year, and that is to really look for a lot of thought leadership coming from the Vengreso team. We are 7 people with a lot of valuable and relevant experience in digital marketing, digital sales, digital service, digital recruiting. So we are delivering to the marketplace not only service offerings that people can expect to hear a lot about, because we are going to be making a lot of noise in the marketplace about our capabilities, but also a lot of thought leadership content. We have 3 podcasts. We have your podcast, Selling with Social. We have Conversations with Phil Gerbershak, and then we have my podcast, Social Business Engine. So we have a lot of thought leadership content that's going to be very educational. So just from a free content standpoint, a lot of people in the industry can expect to enjoy that content and then just understand how they can join the movement by following everything that Vengreso is doing.
Touch on that, join the movement one more time. What's the movement and what do you want people to do?
Well, it's the movement of really transforming to being an organization that has achieved what we're calling digital sales transformation. It is really an organization that understands that sales is not something limited to just the sales department. It is something that every employee in the organization can contribute to the revenue goals of the company. So by being a digitally transformed organization from a sales mindset standpoint, you're providing, as we've been saying, and I hate to be a little redundant, providing the alignment between marketing and sales, providing the mindset that allows people to just think this way every day, providing the skills that are needed to execute, and then, of course, providing the tools that allow them to do it at scale. So when all of those pillars come into place and they're executed on consistently, then that is when an organization can experience digital sales transformation.
Join the movement. I love that. And where can they go to find out more about joining the movement?
At Vengreso.com, and that's with 1 S.
Vengreso.com.
You got it.
I love it. Bernie, I always ask every one of my guests this very, very important question as we close out this podcast here. Your favorite all-time movie ever in the world? What is that?
Mario, I'm going to answer your question, but I want you and the listener to know that it was not canned or planned or anything like that. You did not ask me this question before we got on this podcast.
Nope.
But it is The Lion King.
Oh,
I am dead serious about that because I watched it years ago when my kids were younger, and I was just amazed at how it was very entertaining for children, but had such a great message from a humanity standpoint. It's always stuck with me as just being the most thought-provoking and compelling movie. Now, I do have a close second, by the way.
Okay, what's the close second?
And that is, I forget the actual name of the movie or the title of the movie, but I think it's like Mr. Bean's Vacation or something like that. which is just a hilarious, if you've ever seen any of Mr. Bean stuff. But Lion King's number one, with Mr. Bean being a close second.
I love it. Well, I had no idea that was going to be your answer. So for those of you listening, I did not tee up or set up the Lion King.
That's true.
I love it, man. Well, lastly, I want to say to you, Bernie, I am very excited to have you on board as Vengresso's CMO. You have demonstrated over the last 6 months some amazing skill set that is really going to help our marketing community and our sales community. And I'm truly excited over what's about to happen for the sales industry and the marketing industry. And joining the movement is really what you're going to be seeing a lot of us talking about, is really joining this movement, because it's here, it's a channel, it's effective, it's working. It's where our clients and customers, and your customers, quite frankly, that are listening, your customers are at. And we're not saying that these other channels that we've used, that we've all grown up with, are dead, because they're not. But we have to have a multifaceted approach to selling. Our buyers are that much more savvy than where they were just even a few years ago. So, Bernie, fantastic having you on the podcast. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me as part of Vengreso. And I'm looking to see a lot of great things come out of you as our CMO of Vengreso.
Back at you, Mario. Thank you so much. I'm honored and thrilled. It's been a blast being on this podcast. Finally, we made it happen.
I know. Isn't that the craziest thing? And last thing, if someone wants to connect with you, should they LinkedIn you, or should they follow you on Twitter? Email? What's
So fortunately, I don't have a very common name. So I am at Bernie Borges, BERNIE BORGES, pretty much everywhere.
Fantastic. So they can reach out and connect with you on LinkedIn.
Absolutely. Personalized invitation, of course.
Personalized invitation. Yeah, absolutely. And press those little 3 dots. Just go to
Tell me that you also like the Lion King movie or not. And that you heard about that on the Selling with Social podcast.
I love it. All right, man. Well, thank you so much for joining me on Selling with Social. I appreciate you being with us today, and let's make it happen. Let's rock this.
Let's do it, Mario.
Thanks so much for joining me on that episode of Selling with Social. I hope you found as much value in that episode as I did. Here's what I want you to do next. Please go to www.vengreso.com. That's VENGRESO.com. VENGRESO.com. And make sure that you get access to our content. We've got the latest and greatest in digital sales, sales training, content marketing, and social selling strategies that are going to help you grow your sales pipeline. I look forward to having you on the next show of Selling with Social. Make sure you also go to vengreso.com/podcast to be able to get access to the latest and greatest Selling with Social episodes, along with any of the other episodes that we've got from Social Business Engines with my friend and partner, Bernie Borges, along with Conversations with Phil, with my friend and partner, Phil Gerbishak. Thanks again for joining on Selling with Social.